Alright, so here we have the Riiai HD Live Game Streamer box. So this is advertised as being a 1080p HDMI capture card. All I can find on it is this one store page as well as an Amazon page for a similar device with a bunch of mixed reviews on it. So I thought I'd make my own, and we're just going to open it up here, see what it looks like. All I've done is taken the tape off the bottom. This is brand new, and what you see when you get the box. First thing is a CD, pretty useless. Next up, manual. Could be helpful. We got the box itself. Box has, well, 3 HDMIs on the back, micro USB input or output, 3 headphone jacks. So we got headphone, microphone, and I think that's the line in. The button on the front, HDMI 1 and 2, and the LEDs on the front. Nothing on that side. What's on the bottom? Nothing. And that's it. As well in the box, we've got a micro USB cable. Don't know how long that is, probably a meter. Underneath that, just a standard HDMI cable. Cool. So let's get it plugged in, see what happens in OBS once we plug it in. Alright, so now we're on Windows 10. I'm just going to plug the box in right now via USB. It says it's setting up the device. Okay, cool. There we go. HD grabber device HD is set up and ready to go. Cool. So let's open up OBS, which is what pretty much everyone would be using. And I've got a blank scene set up here that we can test it out with. So I assume we just go add and then video capture device. Let's call it like Riiai or Riiai. That works. Okay, so we got nothing in here apart from my standard Elgato capture card. So something's wrong there. Maybe we need to download some drivers to get it working. Yeah, it looks like we will have to download some drivers because it's not showing up correctly in Device Manager. Let's just try a manual driver update from Windows Update. See if that does anything. Nah, got nothing. We'll try this one as well. Nothing there either. I can't seem to find any trace of a driver for this online. I can't even find the manufacturer's website. They don't seem to have one. Nor do they have a product page, so guess we're going to have to just find a way to read that CD that came in the box. So I've had to use an older computer just to copy the files over here, but this is what was on the CD. We have a few folders. This looks like the installer right here. Let's go through this, see what happens when we're done. Alright, so it looks like it finished installing. Now let's try OBS again and something should be showing up. Okay, go over to sources, video capture device, and it looks like we do have something here. Great, so what is this going to look like? Alright, it's completely blank, but it is 1080p by the looks of things. Let me connect something up to it and see what we get. Oh, okay, there we go. So the HDMI cable is just a bit loose. It's got to be in there really tight for it to work properly. Let me just see what the latency is like. Oh, that's pretty bad. That's like, if I had to guess, it's about 700 milliseconds. So you'll not be able to play from the screen. You'll have to use another monitor just to play your game. Definitely. This is definitely 1080p, but it is only 30 FPS, so it's not going to be the smooth 60 that you see in normal streams on normal capture cards. Since it seems to be working, I'm going to hook up a TV as well as start the recording and see what the quality looks like. Okay, so I've got it all hooked up and this is what the quality is looking like. Let's get into a game. Try at a random level here. Okay, it sounds like the game audio is working fine. Let me just run through this, see if it gets any pixelation or anything weird on the recording. That looks fine to me.
Oh yeah, Mario time.
Okay, so one thing I can notice now is that the colors are very bright, especially like the white and the yellow. Like that text at the top is very difficult to read. If we compare it to a Elgato capture card, which I'll do now. Here's the same screen with the Elgato HD60 Pro. You can see that it's less bright and it looks more normal. and the text is way easier to read. So keep that in mind, because depending on the game, it can really affect the quality of the video. Now I'm going to try out Minecraft, and then we'll move on to the Xbox and see if it is any good at recording games that are much more demanding and much more detailed. Apparently Minecraft doesn't want to work today. Classic Bedrock. Let's try it on the Xbox then. It could just be the game, but I feel like I'm noticing a bit of lag, like when I'm trying to move around and stuff. Like a bunch of delay is a good way to describe it. I'm not sure if that's caused by the card or not, or if it's just the game. We'll have to try something else after this, see how it feels. Okay, so now we're on Fortnite, which is a game that lots of people stream and record. I'm just using this as a good test to see how the world looks on the actual video. It seems like it's alright. It's a bit hard to tell when the game hasn't loaded in properly yet. And my skin just popped up. It also seems like that lag I was talking about before is not present in this game, so it must have just been a Minecraft thing. Which is good, that means you can play competitive games with this card without failing. So in a darker game like this, you really start to notice the pixelation on all the edges around objects. And as well as that, the FPS is only 30 in the recording, so it will kind of feel like it's a bit laggy compared to what you're actually seeing on the screen yourself. So if you don't know what FPS is, that's basically just how many frames per second are being recorded. So on console, games run at 60 FPS, which is 60 frames per second. And most capture cards record at 60 FPS as well, which is why you see 1080-60 on Twitch streams and things like that. This card is only 30 FPS, so it's cut in half, which is, it doesn't show up on the monitor you're playing on, but it will show up on the stream and the recording. So it looks kind of laggy, but it's not actually laggy in the real game. So you'll only be able to stream at 1080p 30 at best, unless you wanted to do 720p, in which case you could do 720p 60 on your stream, but I believe you'd have to have your console set to 720p, which would make it a bit worse in terms of graphic quality. Alright, so let's test that out right now. So if I was to change the resolution to something like 1280 by 720, which is exactly 720p, and I hit OK, it looks like it's going to go blank for a second. And there we go, it's in 720p, and this is what 720p looks like. So obviously you'd scale it up like this, so that you'd cover the whole screen. But if you want to do 60 FPS, you could do it in this kind of quality. So the question remains, is it actually worth it? And in my opinion, I think it is, because this box only cost me $29, whereas the HD60 Pro that I normally use costs about $150, and that only has one input and output on it. So in my opinion, yeah, it is worth it if you can get it to work. Especially with streaming at 720p 60. If your internet isn't capable of 1080p for some reason, and you only stream at 720, this is a good starting card. And all the issues with the quality won't even be noticeable on a stream because of the way it is compressed for the internet. So I think it is worth it. There are some pros and some cons to it though. So the pros are, it is cheap, it has 2 HDMI inputs which you can switch between with the press of a button, really handy for multiple consoles. It also has an input for a microphone, output for headphones as well. It includes a HDMI cable as well as a micro USB cable, which they didn't have to do. They could have made you have to buy one, but they didn't. It works in OBS, you don't have to use their own software for it. It's completely compatible with OBS, XSplit, all the other ones that you use. And finally, it just looks great. Like, the picture quality is really good. I'm quite surprised on how good it looked for only like $29. I was not expecting it to be this good. I thought it would be a 640 by 480 card disguised as a 1080p card. But no, it's full 1080p HD, only 30 FPS, but it does advertise that it can do 60 at 720, so I'll believe it. If you can manage to get that working, then it's perfect. Perfect for streaming, perfect for recording. I see no issues with it. There are some cons though. So the first issue with it is how the drivers come with it. So they're on a CD, which is going to be hard to read in 2020 since no laptops or desktops are being made with CD drives anymore. It's going to be really hard to get the drivers off that, especially if you lose it, because if you lose that CD, you can't use your box at all. Like, it's completely useless without the driver. And I couldn't find it online, which it really should be online for. Because of that, I'm going to upload the driver files myself onto Google Drive and leave a link to it in the description in case you also own the box and you've lost the CD or you can't find a way to use it or you can't find them online. It's in the description. You click the link, you'll be able to download it yourself and get it all set up again. Another con is obviously that it's only 30 FPS. Since all games run at 60, it's going to look pretty choppy in a stream or a video. So I would recommend you only record at 720p at all times, unless you need to have that extra quality for a specific game. It's also not built very well. It's built kind of cheaply, and you can tell. Like the housing of it's really plasticky, and it feels like it could break easily. It feels like a cheap Chinese product, to be honest. It could have been made better. Especially with the HDMI cables, like they have to be fully inserted for it to even pick up a signal at all. That got me at the start, and you have to make sure that you actually push them in all the way. Another issue I'm worried about is the stability of it in terms of how long it can actually remain working for. Especially on Windows, because I've seen with some cheap capture cards that the Windows drivers can cause blue screens all the time after only using it for like 20 minutes or whatever. That hasn't happened to me yet, but I am worried that it could happen. And if that does happen on your stream, it's just going to shut down OBS, crash everything. You'll probably lose your video if you're recording it, and it's not a good thing. From what I've seen so far though, I don't think it will cause blue screens. Because of how low the bitrate is set, it doesn't have the potential to get that much heat generated, which can cause overheating or anything like that. It seems to have an issue with the Switch where it is brighter in some areas of the screen. I showed you that earlier, but I'm not sure if that's related to like some of the RGB color settings. Maybe it could be, and it could be a simple fix, just changing the display settings on the Switch. But assuming that doesn't fix it, it could get really annoying watching a stream with really bright colors like that and hard to read text in games like Mario Maker. That could get pretty unwatchable really quick. So assuming that it doesn't crash at all and that the lighting issue on the Switch is only a problem with the display settings I have set, then I think it's fine. I think it's perfect for people starting out on Twitch or YouTube, and it's a perfect card to pick up and just plug in and use it on your streams. I'm not sure if they're still being made to this day, but I found mine for $29 brand new in box from a secondhand store in Australia. I don't know if you'll be able to find one somewhere else online or whatever, but if you can find one, I'd highly suggest you pick one up and just try and use it. Find a use for it, because it's a really good value product. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.